Hi everyone, it's Gigabeef here, and today we're going to be answering your questions that have been asked across the channel, as generally if they're being asked by one person, I'm sure there are others who would also be interested in finding out the answers too, but haven't necessarily gotten to the question themselves yet. So stick around and let's get going. So regulars around here will know that I try to answer all questions that people ask in the comments, so keep them coming, and if people enjoy it then I'll likely do some more of these. There's no specific theme, and if you have a question, please do post it. I'll usually reply to you individually, and then it can help me to help everyone else by giving an answer in a format like this. Alright, so let's get into question 1. So this is from Chaitanya Bansal, who said, does the Dragunov take some sort of Piccadilly rail for the cypress scopes? The PSO doesn't do it for me. Now, the way that I would answer this is in two parts. So firstly, using the preset system. Now, remember, if you're a new player in the hideout, you will actually need to get your workbench to level 1 before you can use the presets, but there's no prerequisites. It's very easy to do. You might need the flea market for some of the pieces, but it's easy to get this workbench to level 1. Once you've done that, if you go and look at any gun, let's just take the SVD for this example, and we go right click, edit preset. This will then take you into the system here, which will show you what is available. And so on the side, you can see here's all the different side mounts. You can use whatever you want, XD, RGL, or a different one like the SVD low mount, and this will allow you to add any of these things. Now, the one unfortunate thing about this is that it won't work if you don't have these parts identified. So you need to have these pieces identified first. So if you don't have a lot of stuff identified, then a better way to go about this is instead to go on here and right click and do search, link search. And so in here, normally the way that you're going to find this is by clicking through different ones on here and looking through mounts. And mounts is the one that you're going to want to look at. So here you can see the cheapest ones. You've got the Pillad here, Axion Cobra, CAA, etc, etc. So that's really the two ways of doing it, depending on whether you've actually got some stuff unlocked or not. Alright, so question 2. This was from U2, who said, hey Giga, what's your sense and DPI? Not something I've really gone into before, but the DPI that I use is 800, and I use 0.5 sensitivity in game. But this really depends on what you like to use. Normally, when I'm moving from one game to another, I'll go into the first game, I'll measure the distance on my mouse mat that it takes me to spin 180, and then I'll go into a new game, say if I'm playing Tarkov for the first time, I'll go into that, and then I'll measure the same distance and keep tweaking the sensitivity until I get it so that when I move the mouse in the same amount, I get a 180-degree spin. So it makes it nice and consistent between the different games, because different games have different measures of sensitivity, so I like to be able to ensure that it's going to be the same. Now in EFT it's a bit more complicated because armor and stuff affects it, so you might want to do it for the most common loadout that you run as well, because your turn speed depends on the items that you wear. So that's one little tweak just to be careful of. Question number 3 was from Jessica Enright, who said, I'm level 10 right now and I don't know what's a good build for like 65k because I'm poor right now. I mean, whenever anyone asks about budget guns and they say they want something that's really, really cheap, I just always say, go for the Vepr Hunter. It's really good. If you want to use it at long range, you can use the PSO innately on it. If you don't want to use it at long range, you can use the TTO1, which will add, I'll actually just go and show you that. So if we go and look and grab a Vepr Hunter, then you can use the little attachment that allows you to add red dots on. So again, let's just use the presets system because it's by far the easiest way I find of doing it once you've got everything unlocked. So instead of the rear side, you can then attach the TTO1, and this will allow you to add various holographics and red dots. Not that the PK06, you might want to use something slightly different if you're going for a budget run. But this is good. It takes M80s. Oh, it's got a bit of a bug here. Oh god. It takes M80 ammunition, which you could buy from Peacekeeper level 2, I believe, and it's nice and cheap, and it really does the job. M80 is decent. So for budget guns, I always would say Vepr Hunter is the best thing that you can do. Here's the M80s. The one thing about M80s, so if you go 100 on these, it actually only costs $157, so it's $1.57, it's not 2 like it says. So it's actually even cheaper than you might think. So question number 4 was from Petcon the Boss, who said, I'm down to 100k rubles, got any super budget kits? Now, I would always start with the Vepr Hunter. That's why I've kind of linked it to the last question, because they're kind of similar. So you can use the PSO, or you can use the TTO1 again to get a little red dot if you really, really want to, or you can use it stock if you're comfortable with iron sights. Then in terms of armor, I would use the 6B3TM. It's probably the best value rig in the game. Level 4 gives you a rig as well, so you don't need to buy that extra. Then I would get a GSSH headset. It's the cheapest of the headsets. Really use one. Don't bother with a helmet. Use the headset instead. It'll save you so many more times being able to hear people. Buy a balaclava. It'll stop your face from shining and being really obvious. Handful of M80 rounds. You can get them for Peacekeeper level 2. 5 random mags will do. If you do have the ability to buy 10 rounders, but I think they're Jaeger level 3, then do so. But 5-rounders is fine, and that should be just over 100k. You won't really need anything else outside of maybe a couple of meds, your favorite meds, whatever you like taking with you. It might be 110k or so, but that should really stand you in good stead, and a lot of that stuff you can keep in your secure anyway. The next comment that I thought was interesting was from Noe11, who said, pretty good guide on, this is the insurance one. You forgot to mention one thing, it's the sinking feeling when you get your insurance back and wondering whether it'll double or triple your stash space to put away. Now, I think this is actually one really cool thing that really super helps you to get over gear fear, because if you just literally don't have space to take your stuff, there's no better incentive to go and taking gear out into the raid, because you just can't even take it back into your inventory. So once you get to that point where you're running enough raids, you're getting enough stuff back in insurance, your inventory is just absolutely rammed, and then you're just not even worried anymore, because the stuff that comes back, it feels like it came for free. You didn't have to buy it, and you could just keep running loadouts, and that's really kind of where you start seeing proper advances in terms of your psychology and your gameplay, and you'll probably play a lot better for it. Question number 6 from Jackalworks is about thermal scopes. So the range limit is added back, confirmed. Yes, it definitely is. Go watch the thermals video. You can see the landscape not rendering after a certain distance. It's 250 meters. It's definitely in the game. Another question on thermals from Pathetic Medic. He said, general question, is it better to use thermals on night or daytime raids? I would guess nighttime, as they are much more common, so other people can see you two very easily. Now, what I found interesting about this is that thermals are clearly better at night if other people aren't using them, but you are more likely to run into other users of thermals at night. So they still do work really, really well in the day. And I had a woods raid the other day, which was 5 kills or something using thermal scopes, just because why not? We were running a super meta kit after finishing the guide. It's kind of like a celebration. And they are really, really amazing. The only thing you have to be mindful of is this 250 meter limit on the range. So if you're playing something like woods, you have to be a little careful there. But most maps, it's not really a problem whatsoever. Now, the one thing that I would say is that in foggy weather or raining weather, these things are absolutely insane because people just can't see you normally, and you can see them clear as day. It's the same with smoke. You can see right through them. Probably shouldn't work that way. I'm not sure if it works that way in real life, but in EFT, it's crazy. So in stormy weather or foggy weather, yeah, they're absolutely mega overpowered. Question number 8 from Sergio Carrillo. He said, how do I get rid of the heavy pixely screen when I take painkillers? Now, this is an interesting one because painkillers do give that sharpness effect, which can be a bit of a pain. So what I would do is have a mess around with your post-FX settings and make sure your sharpness isn't too high. I'll put mine up. I don't find it too bad on my screen. Maybe I'm just used to it, but I'll show you my settings anyway. So I don't like to go too crazy on the sharpness. I don't think it really helps. And so not having that at an insane level means that you can actually see when you use painkillers. So give it a go. You can now test it live when you're going in through the settings, so you can see kind of what it's going to look like in real life. So go into a raid in offline mode and just give it a test and see what works for you. Question number 9. Aren't you the rat? Yeah, sometimes. Question number 10 from Marek. He said, at 415, what does it mean that Tarkov uses the original maximum durability to determine penetration? Should I interpret it as such that an armor that, for example, had originally max 80 out of 80 durability and now after repair has 50 out of 50 durability, basically is treated by 50 out of 80 by the game, and the new max durability only shows that it can't be repaired higher than that? Now, I thought this was really, really good to note because this is a concept that is consistently misunderstood across the player base. He's got it completely right in the comment, so I have nothing really else to add to that. If it starts off at 80 out of 80 and it's now 50 out of 80, and you repair it and it goes to 50 out of 50, I mean, that's a stupid example, but just for argument's sake, the fact that it used to be 80 is what the game will use as its maximum. So it'll be 50 out of 80 no matter what the actual maximum says. All that does is block you from repairing it any further. So as Marek says in his comment, he's exactly right, and just bear it in mind, because if you're running around with a 45 out of 45, even though the max durability is 70, that thing really is only going to be protecting you 2/3, probably half, as well as it would have done when it was fresh. So just keep it in mind. And finally, the question about the Glock 18C. Is there a suppressor for it? Unfortunately not, because you can't get the threaded barrel. There is only one barrel for the 18C in Tarkov, and it's the one with the inbuilt compensator. Not that that really helps, but you can't get the threaded barrel, which means that it's not compatible with any of the suppressors for the Glock 17, which is quite unfortunate because that would be quite fun to have a nice suppressed pistol just running around and shooting. I mean, I had great fun with that gun anyway, but if it was suppressed, it would just make it even funnier. Not that it's really going to help because you're pretty much at sub 20 meters anyway. All right, well, that's it for today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will try to do some of these videos every now and then when I get kind of a build-up of comments, so I have something substantial to put together. Please also don't forget to subscribe if you like my content and you'd like to see some more stuff in the future. It really helps out the channel. And you can also follow me on Twitter to check out when I'm going to be live. And until then, I'll see you next time and have fun in your raids.